sisters, brothers, kin of all phyla. Welcome back to the shop and happy Labor Day. Hats off to those of us who technically minded individuals, whether you're wrangling pixies or putting tire chains on. We keep the world turning, and the powers that be decide to give us a day off. Thank goodness for that. So, happy Labor Day. I'm down here in the shop today. Overtime, double bubble. YouTube finally paying me what I'm worth on account of this Jeezeless thing not working. And the comments, hark, thrice, cried the cock. You sons of bleaches, ye of little faith. We got ourselves here the most bestest comment section on all of YouTube, rife, positively rife, with second guessing and backstabbing that I done dickered this just by taking it apart. Don't believe the hype. They want you, the manufacturers always want you to believe that if you take something apart, you're gonna break it. Don't take it apart because you're gonna break it, and that's your fault if you take it apart and break it. I didn't break this. She doesn't chooch for a reason, so we are gonna troubleshoot this. Check out some of the comments. Ferdinand Fake, if that's your real name, you killed it, you dingus. Go back to Sarajevo. B. Steversaw. It was hard to blame the product when it worked before it was disassembled. Partner, it was like that when I got here. Night shift had it last, and I think they loaned it to the electrician.
So you didn't see anything out of the ordinary that might have started the fire? Yeah, when we left, I think the electricians had left some power cables up around place. Electricians? Fucking Sparkies.
E. Triscaglione takes it apart, breaks it, shits on it. I do not know what you're watching in between these videos, but you're projecting, partner. I did not shit on this. So troubleshooting right off the hop, you got to think about the easiest thing first. And the easiest thing first, this thing's stuck in some sort of Captain Kirk logical loop. And it didn't let the smoke out. There was no smoke. And that battery, there's a lot of angry pixies contained in that battery. So, seeing as how we did not let the smoke out, chances are there's something going on with the software with us blinking lights. Because if the battery was connected the wrong way, you would not get any blinking lights in. Carefuling. We're in lights in. There you go. So black to black over here, black to black. This is obversed. So I think what we're going to do here is the hard reboot. There's a brain in here. It's a confuser. Just get in here with the instrument, clean the schmoo off the speculum, and try not to light ourselves afire. Not gonna work. There we go. Now we'll just let that sit for a while so that if there's any capacitance in there storing power, that we allow this thing to hard reboot. So we'll let it sit a minute. Whilst this thing dechooches, I'll show you the arrangement. 6,000 milliamp hour battery pack, and this came charged. We left on the journey, and I had to charge the GoPro, the Sony GoPro, as well as the handheld camera, what got all the footage, the hazy, crappy footage from the canoe trip. Had to charge this thing up 3 times. What I would do is in the evening, because sometimes, it's raining, yada, 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 I didn't feel that a solar panel would work. It was a good redundancy to have, but I never pulled it out because this worked quite well. And we fed this as a campfire band buster. Arguable as to whether or not it actually is a campfire band buster. Could we have gotten in trouble for using this when there is a campfire band? It's pretty tough to prevent somebody from cooking their meals. So if you're using this to cook your meals, is somebody really gonna fine you I think it's $1,600 fine for having an open campfire when there's a ban on because of all the wildfires? So this was the arrangement, and it worked perfect. It did take a long time, but we were up anyway at night, not paddling at night, and just force feeding this thing pine cones and moose turds. So we'll put this back together, and I figured out in the previous video I had the orientation of this wrong. There's a little pocket here for the wires, and when you snap, it really snaps in there quite well. although it's still not positively affixed. So we'll get that Molex connector back on, and there's only one orientation this works, so that helps us out. And now we'll try this here. Okay. It seems to be doing some sort of self-diagnostic. Still not gonna chooch. What the fuck over? Oh! Oh, doesn't help when you're holding your finger on the compressor wheel. Ow. There we go. So there, ye of little faith. I done fixed it. It was stuck in a while loop or stuck in some sort of Kirkensian illogical, does not compute. Didn't like that. It must be something to do with either planned obsolescence or not allowing you to replace this battery pack. Once she's chooched her last, you throw it out right back into Mother Earth Gaia, recycled. Wa. A fellow by the name of Buddy Gnu wanted to see what kind of battery was in here, whether or not it was craptacular or decent. Good, pink, and a dirty little secret here. One in the pink and one in the stink. Got some painter's tape. Just painter's tape. Thermal fuse here, and here's the protection circuit, and underneath of which are some barcoded markings. I guess you're gonna force me to go full bareback in here. I don't like getting into these batteries because I fuck them up every time, and I ain't afraid to admit when I fuck up. There's the cell itself. Look this up. ISR 18650, finest grade of Chinesium. Some sort of off-brand, double happiness, so enjoyment type deal. But it's lithium cobalt, so not a name brand cell, pretty crappy. Sorry about the flies in here. It's apparently because everything I touch turns to shit. But that is why we have the belt and braces. We have a thermal couple here, plus a thermal fuse here, so if anything happens to this, these can thermally run away if they get over 160 degrees, so 75. Crappy batteries, in my opinion. Definitely not a name brand, and with the with the painter's tape. Yeah, come on. I touched on this in the previous video, and guys were asking how do you skookumify this if and you want it to last a long time, and I had said conformally coat it. Put some room temperature vulcanizing, something that's not going to burn. Maybe a little bit of capped on tape, that sort of thing. And of course, that hoary old adage, the Dunning-Kruger done got me good. I sometimes don't realize what I don't know, and I also don't realize what other people don't know. So just to simplify that, conformal coating it's a lacquer that goes on PCB boards, and you let it flash off, and it keeps moisture out of there. Of course, moisture is going to get in anywhere. You can't keep water out. It's unless everything's enclosed in metal, and even then. So this is the conformal coating. This happens to be from MG Chemicals. You get this either online or from your PCB board supplier, electronicals stuff. And then the room temperature vulcanizing. This is a sealant, a silicone, and this won't burn either. So these are quite, well, this is bathtub sealant. It worked just fine. Loctite, the red RTV, which is high temp, or the down Coronet, or the Permatex. It doesn't matter. Whatever flavor you can find. And then, of course, the capped on tape is a special kind of tape. What doesn't melt. It only burns. They use this. You'll see this. You start taking stuff apart. You'll see this everywhere where they need to protect a component during the reflow, the solder reflow process. So we're going to use this on the battery, and I'll just run through the steps here. She's back down to bare bones. So what we got to do is protect the stuff that has to make connection, electrical connection. You could use some sort of putty, but sometimes it gets stuck in there, and you got to piss with the cock you got. I only got tape. So that is what we're going to use. I'm just going to mask off the areas that we don't want any conformal coating on. Also, probably we don't want any conformal coating inside the switch, which presents a little problem because the contacts in there can corrode quite easily. But what we can do after the fact is spray a little bit of, or dab a little bit of conformal or dielectric grease in there. Again, we're just trying to mitigate the ingress of any kind of moisture. I would just spray it on like coats. And we'll do a number of coats. Also, errata, I made a mistake. These are actually Charlie or multiplex because there's only 6 wires going to it. So it's not every pin from here lighting one LED. They're doing it in sequence. The Charlie plexing is an interesting process, which is beyond the scope of a camping video. Although, we're clearly quite beyond the scope of a camping video. Now that we've conformally coated that, while we wait for it to flash off, we're going to add a little extra piece, which really isn't necessary, but it might help the longevity of the MOSFETs that actually power this thing. The MOSFETs are electronical switches, and inside there is a body diode, but that's just part and parcel of the manufacturing process. That body diode allows voltage spikes from this motor to dissipate. Now, this motor actually, as crazy as it sounds, it takes DC, direct current, changes it to AC. It commutates it mechanically. That commutation creates a lot of electrical noise, which is hard on electronics. So just to mitigate that, while we're dicking around anyway, we're going to add a little tiny capacitor. And what that will do is it'll smooth out those voltage spikes, maybe, hopefully, or conceivably, making those MOSFETs last longer. Just easing out that high stress of the excess voltage. And what value is that? Very little. Picofarads. 2.2 picofarads. Something like that. About that much. Does it really matter? Helps me sleep at night. Interesting property baked into the conformal coating, and I didn't know this, a graybeard had to edify me, is that it fluoresces under UV. So we have our 395 nanometer particle accelerator here, and we will see this glows where the conformal coating has been applied. Nice and thick. Missed a little bit down here. This will also help you for troubleshooting in case you have a cracked board and you have conformal coating on there. You'll be able to see the crack quite a bit better because it'll fluoresce. It's almost like that stuff they use for crack detection in metals. What's that called? I forget now. I got a kit of it and I use it on occasion. Now we'll replace most of that garbage tape with some proper capped-on tape. Poly something. Now we're going to get in there with some silicone carney, glue everything down, bigger to gob, the better to job. And the good thing over Silastic, that this, at least this you can take apart and it's not going to break the board. It should just pop apart, you know. So if you ever do got to repair it, no big deal. Don't be afeard to take stuff apart, because chances are, as long as you take your time and you're not afraid to make a mistake or two along the way, you will be able to get her back together. Now we can add a little dab of dielectric grease to all the connectors. And you don't want this all over the place because we're going to go in after the fact and RTV them down so they don't wiggle wobble loose. Now we got her all shimmed up proper. We are awash in blue silicone carney. Of note, we haven't added any thermal transfer compound. I think that would be bad actually, because I'm not sure if it can withstand the heat of this, especially those special graphite layers there, those heat transfer layers. I don't want to mess with those, so I have omitted putting the diaper rash cream on there. And we'll give her a test here, see how she chooches. It appears to be working. Yeah! A proper cock for dolly. Well, thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vice.